Hi everybody, welcome back to our virtual story time. It's been quite a while since I've had the chance to do one. I filmed some last week, but we were having some major issues with uploading them, so I'm just starting fresh. I'm also very tired today. I'm so sleepy. I don't know if anybody else feels the same way. But I can't stop yawning. I'm probably going to yawn throughout the whole story, so if you watch this, make sure that you're ready for a nap or ready to go to sleep tonight, because I can't stay awake myself. I'm also working in the library by myself right now, so the phone might ring. I don't know what's going to happen. It's anyone's guess. But the story that I'm going to read to you today is called Extra Yarn by Mac Barnett and illustrated, by Jon Klassen. I don't know what's wrong with me. On a cold afternoon in a cold little town, where everywhere you looked was either the white of snow, or the black of soot from chimneys, Annabelle found a box filled with yarn of every color. There's her dark little town. And there's Annabelle. So she went home and knit herself a sweater. And when Annabelle was done, she had some extra yarn. So she knit a sweater for Mars too. But there was still extra yarn. Mars is her dog, not the planet. And when Annabelle and Mars went for a walk, Nate pointed and laughed and said, "You two look ridiculous." "You're just jealous," said Annabelle. "No, I'm not," said Nate. But it turned out he was. And even after she'd made a sweater for Nate and his dog and for herself and for Mars, she still had extra yarn. Oh, they look quite sharp in their little sweaters. And there's even so much yarn that it's getting wrapped up around the trees. At school, Annabelle's classmates could not stop talking about her sweater. "Quiet!" shouted Mr. Norman. "Quiet, everyone! Annabelle, that sweater of yours is a terrible distraction. I cannot teach with everyone turning around to look at you." "Then I'll knit one for everyone," Annabelle said, "so they won't have to turn around." "Impossible," said Mr. Norman. "You can't." But it turned out she could, and she did, even from Mr. Norman. And when she was done, Annabelle still had extra yarn. So there's all the kids with their new sweaters, and Mr. Norman with his. So she knit sweaters for her mom and dad, and for Mr. Pendleton and Mrs. Pendleton, and for Dr. Palmer, and for little Louie. And little Louie even has a little L on his sweater. She made sweaters for everyone except Mr. Crabtree, who never wore sweaters or even long pants, and who would stand in his shorts with the snow up to his knees. "No sweater for me, thanks," said Mr. Crabtree. So she made Mr. Crabtree a hat. And even then, Annabelle still had extra yarn. There he is with his coffee cup, just standing in the snow. Now for us in Arizona, that probably sounds pretty wild, but maybe if you're from the Midwest or Scandinavia or something, that's probably pretty normal, I guess. I like his hat. It looks great on him. She made sweaters for all the dogs and all the cats and for other animals too. Soon, people thought, soon Annabelle will run out of yarn. But it turned out she didn't. So Annabelle made sweaters for things that didn't even wear sweaters. I imagine it would probably be pretty interesting to see an entire house covered with a sweater. Things began to change in that little town. Look at how bright and colorful it is now. And I bet everybody's all cozy and warm. It almost makes me wish that I had a sweater for my house too. News spread of this remarkable girl who never ran out of yarn. And people came to visit from around the world to see all the sweaters and to shake Annabelle's hand. One day, an archduke, who was very fond of clothes, sailed across the sea and demanded to see Annabelle. There's all the people coming up to shake her hand, which in this time of coronavirus, I guess we wouldn't be able to do. "Little girl," said the Archduke, "I would like to buy that miraculous box of yarn, and I'm willing to offer you $1,000,000. "No, thank you," said Annabelle, who was knitting a sweater for a pickup truck. The Archduke's mustache twitched. $2,000,000, he said. Annabelle shook her head. "No, thanks." "10,000,000, shouted the Archduke. "Take it or leave it." "Leave it," said Annabelle. "I won't sell the yarn." And she didn't. Look, there's even a truck. That fussy Archduke. He already has a very long scarf. So that night, the Archduke hired 3 robbers to break into Annabelle's house, and they stole the box and took it to the Archduke, who set across the snow and sailed over the sea. Look, there's ladders up into her window. And there's the Archduke's boat. And it looks like the only person who saw was Mars. Back to his castle. The Archduke put on his favorite song and sat in his best chair. Then he took out the box and he lifted its lid and he looked inside. What do you think is going to be in there? I would think a lot of yarn. His mustache quivered. It shivered. It trembled. The Archduke hurled the box out the window and shouted, "Little girl, I curse you with my family's curse. You will never be happy again." It's empty. I wonder how it could be empty. But look, it landed on a little piece of ice that's sailing back across the sea. It's very tiny. Right back to Annabelle. It turned out she was happy again. Look, she even knitted a tree. The end. I really like that story. I think it's very nice. I love the idea of yarn and doing things for other people. I think that's very important in these wild times. The song that I'm going to sing to you is probably one that you've heard before, and it goes a little something like this. It's my favorite things. Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. Cream-colored ponies and crisp apple strudels, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel with noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favorite things. Girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into springs. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad. I'm not going to sing the whole thing, but I just thought I would pass that little note along to you, and hope that you always keep a song in your heart and that you keep all of your favorite things close to you, and that you remember that there's still good out there in the world, even though we're all sort of locked down together. All right, have a wonderful rest of your day.